All right, happy Monday, everyone. This week we have a few things that I want to talk about with y'all. So, despite becoming so diverse it is actually falling apart, the Emmys and all other institutions are, in fact, still racist. Ariana Grande is a foul person, and I just need to rant about it. And the Phoenix Metro system apparently had a no pants day. I'm not sure if that's more or less foul than Ari, but we will determine that later. As always, I am your host, Noelle. This is Just Say No. Let's get into it. Okay, so I saw this article and I really need to talk about it because it is so emblematic of the fact that it will never be enough. It honestly has to be exhausting to be a perpetual victim in your own mind. Seriously, imagine looking at the Emmys, and let me emphasize, the Emmys, an elite of the elite event, and seeing the fact that the show running team this year was 100% black and multiple black people won awards, and still finding something to bitch about because it's never enough. Besides that, imagine being so hyper-fixated on race that you watch things like the Emmys through a race lens. If you're going to watch an award show at all and find something to complain about at all, I think it could be worth it to watch it through a class lens. I've said it once and I will say it 100 more times. We do not have a racism issue in this country. If anything, we have a class issue. And when I watch things like the Emmys or the Met Gala, I can't help but think of the Hunger Games. They're so mirrored and so out of touch. By all of this, I largely mean when you look at people like Taylor Swift, who are gallivanting across the world in articles of clothing that cost 4 times as much as an average person's rent, and rides her private jet to anywhere she wants, all the while voting for things like climate change policies who don't affect her because she is a literal billionaire, but do affect people who are middle and lower class. I also look at all of the other Hollywood and Washington elites who live behind gated communities and all the while vote against things like the border wall because, again, they don't feel the effects of these policies. They just want a virtue signal. Essentially, it's the correct thing these days to be against having a border. It's the correct thing these days to be scared of the sun monster. And God forbid any of them step out of line. And God forbid we look at that issue, look at the class issue. Let's just continue to look at the Emmys and focus on the color of our skin instead. So, back to the topic at hand. This article is a hoot. The author, Kathleen Newman Breming, it's always a Kathleen, isn't it? Kathleen's they're problematic. She starts off by discussing how it was an overall fun show, contributing this to the first ever all-black team to show run. She continues on talking about how nice it was to watch so many black women win awards, yada, yada, yada. But then we get to the real point. She says, quote, "The retrospective reunions juxtaposed with the groundbreaking wins just further exposed how exclusionary the institution has been in the past and how egregious it is that so many black actors in their shows have been overlooked." So she said that. She goes on to say how Martin never won an Emmy. She really digs into this a bit more further into the article, describing how the cast of Martin was on stage to present an award and making jokes about how they never won one because they're good-humored people and she is a joy-sucking life force. But she finds this to be problematic and that they shouldn't settle for that. Now, this is particularly funny because one of the things that she mentioned that she did like about the show was how they brought together the casts of many beloved shows like Martin to present awards. Now, one of these shows that was brought together to present an award is one of my personal all-time favorites. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And this show has an all-white cast and has been on the air for 16 years. And it also has never won an award. Because as it turns out, it's actually not that easy to win an Emmy. And that is why they are considered to be an honor. Now, this goes over Kathleen's head, and she goes on in the article to talk about another article that she wrote a couple years ago titled, "When Black Women Make History at Award Shows, There's Always a Catch." And before we get into this article, I think it's worth saying, if you have written more than one article about Black people at award shows, I don't want to say go touch grass because it's a little bit overused, but I sincerely don't know what else to say. Go touch grass, log off your computer, step outside, look at the sun for a minute, feel the sun on your skin. That might do you some good. Breathe. I would recommend taking a couple breaths because you need to change something. But anyways, so her examples of there always being a catch at award shows for Black women is, in her own words, quote, "Beyonce and Viola Davis, two of the most awarded women in their retrospective fields." So, two of the most awarded women in their fields are both Black. Now, how does she manage to twist this into a racism issue? Well, you see, Beyonce still hasn't won Album of the Year at the Grammys. If you're waiting for more, there isn't more. That's it. So I guess the bottom line is, unless Queen Bee wins all of the awards, America is still as racist as it was in the 1800s. Because that's how shallow-minded these people are. And even if Beyonce won every single award, we would still be racist. Because the entire point here is that there is nothing that we as a nation can do to make up for the sins of our past. She says, quote, "Black folks winning awards they deserve shouldn't be as rare as a celestial event." So that is a wild statement to make. Let me just go through something really quick with you guys. The greatest achievement a performer can win is an EGOT. That's an Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, and a Tony. It is such a rare occurrence that only 19 people have ever done it. And of those 19 people, 20% of them are Black. Now, for the loony lefties, that sort of thing is super important. This is where DEI programs come from, is trying to have an equal representation of the population shown in a certain category. And 20% is well above that threshold. But even that, I am sure, is not enough to satiate their need for victimhood. Because the bottom line is, if you take away their victimhood status, then they might have to actually look in the mirror and take accountability for their own lives. And that is simply too difficult. So instead, we're just going to play this race game until the end of time. All right, so since we are in Hollywood territory already, this is a good transition to our next story for the day. And that is that Ariana Grande is a nasty, foul woman. This story is pretty apolitical, but as this is also a culture show as well as my show, I want to talk about it, so we're talking about it. You may or may not know, but Ariana Grande has been in some controversy as of late. Last year, she was working on the movie Wicked when some romance rumors started swirling between her and her co-star, Mr. Ethan Slater. Now, this is all fine and dandy, except for the fact that both Ariana and Ethan were married to other people at the time. Ariana was with Dalton Gomez, her husband of just a few years, and Ethan was with his now ex-wife, whom he had been with for 10 years and had just welcomed a baby with. So, are you starting to smell the stench? Starting to get that foul odor? Yeah, me too. So, since the two Wicked stars have separated from their spouses, they have made their relationship pretty public, which is incredibly cringy and gross. So first, a few things that I think are worth noting. Ethan Slater is not a hunk. If you have not seen him, please look him up. He is a red-haired, fair-skinned theater kid. And that's kind of a generous description. I could be much more mean. I really could. But seeing as how I'm going to spend the next few minutes shredding into Ariana, let me spend a few on him. The absolute gall of this pipsqueak loser man to ruin his 10-year-long relationship, abandon his newborn son, all for a woman who is, for a fact, going to leave him by the end of this year. Pathetic. Pathetic. And it is the most weak-minded, adolescent, retarded behavior. And when Ariana is done with him, he's going to have to sit with this decision. His decision to throw away a quality woman for what? For what? 5 minutes in the spotlight with a pop star? Which, I mean, by the way, can we just acknowledge the fact that Ariana is not what she used to be? Really, if you want to be with Ariana, I do not think that this is the era for it. So, I'm going to start off by saying this is all speculation, and recently there have been strong denial allegations coming out about this, but if you ask me, I just think Ariana has an excellent publicist. Yeah, I'm very much bought into the fact that they are homewreckers. So, supposedly, Ariana had gone over to their house and held their baby and hung out with the couple before she decided to snake her way in and destroy the family. God, it's just so foul. I can't think of another word for it. It's foul. Now, before we get into Ethan Slater, it's worth looking at Ariana's dating history. And as I mentioned, this is all alleged, but looking at the current state of affairs, no pun intended, I don't think it's a reach that this stuff is true. So her most famous relationship was with Mac Miller. The pair were together for about 2 years, and he supposedly cheated on his high school girlfriend, who he was with for 7 years, with Ariana. Again, this is unconfirmed. There's a pattern here. So one of her first boyfriends, Jay Brooks, came out publicly after they broke up and said that the singer cheated on him and left him for Nathan Skies when the two broke up. And she publicly dated Nathan for a while after this. So that feels familiar. And when she dated Big Sean, his ex-girlfriend claimed that she found Ariana at his house when the two were still together. And her most recent relationship, which was a marriage to Dalton Gomez, supposedly his ex posted saying, quote, "When your ex posts a pic with the girl he told you not to worry about," in reference to him and Ariana. So while all these stories are unconfirmed, it does reach a point where if this many people are telling the same story, there might be a seed of truth to it. And there is such a strong pattern here where in nearly every relationship she's ever been in, there has been at least a whisper of cheating. Maybe there's some truth. Maybe there's some truth to that. Okay, I used to be a pretty big Ariana Grande fan. I haven't for a while. I personally feel like her music has gone down the drain. Most of it is grotesque and classless, and she slurs her words when she sings, and you can't hear what she's saying most of the time anyways. A lot of her songs sound the exact same, and there's just no value in her music at this point. She lacks creativity. She hasn't put out anything truly new and innovative in quite some time. But all of this to say that she decided to up the ante on this controversy and release a new song in the middle of it called Yes And. Now, a lot of people are thinking that this is a jab at everyone who has been calling her things like a homewrecker, and we're going to take a look at the lyrics and make a judgment. But if that is the case, girly pop, this is not the own that you think it is. This is say it with me. This is foul. So, as with most of her songs, the lyrics do not hold much meaning. This song is incredibly typical Ariana. There's nothing special or honestly even that good. I know I just said it, but all of her songs are starting to sound the same at this point. They're the type of songs that you hear playing in an H&M and you just don't even think about it. It's just, there's just nothing there. So to be honest, there isn't much to dissect in terms of the lyrics except for this one line in the bridge. And it is truly this part that makes me cringe, because at the end of the bridge, she says, quote, "Why do you care so much whose dick I ride?" So that is, first of all, very classy. Very nice. She's very, very nice woman. But second, maybe, hear me out. Maybe people care because you stole it from a wife and a mother, Ariana. And it is at this point that I'm going to remind everyone, if you don't know, that I'm going to inform you that dick played SpongeBob on Broadway. Again, if you haven't seen pictures of this man, I implore you, because this woman's going to war for him, and I don't know. But thankfully, there are a lot of people who agree with me, and a lot of people are not supporting the new song or her in general. But it's disturbing how many people are avidly defending her. Now, I understand that Ariana is on her, she's on that kind of level where you're not gonna tank her music career. You're not gonna do anything like that. But I could not get behind supporting this. It's so, ugh, God, she's a bad person. End of segment. To close out the show today, this is an incredibly short story, but I would be remiss if I didn't talk about it. I saw something on Twitter, which is No Pants Phoenix Metro Ride. And my main thing here is just why? Why? We as a society have gotten entirely too comfortable with each other. I don't want to see y'all without pants on. Please put pants on. And the photos that I have seen from this event, I especially don't want to see y'all without pants on. I really don't. But apparently this is something that Phoenix Metro did a few years ago, but they had to stop because of COVID. Now, I'm not sure if this is because the Metro closed or if it's because COVID is transmitted easier if you don't have pants on. Neither answer would surprise me. But anyway, they decided to resume this long-held tradition in the year of our Lord, 2024. And, you know, it pains me to say this, but after looking at those photos, yeah, this is more foul than Ariana. I don't want to see anyone without their pants on in public, but I especially don't want to see these people. I mean, y'all, really, okay. Imagine the type of person who would partake in this. Like, the stereotypical type of person that comes to your mind, yeah, that's the person, and it is a they, them, and you can tell. Honestly, my first thought about this was, what kind of person hears, hey, we're not wearing pants on the bus today, on the public transportation, we're not going to wear pants, and their first thought is, yeah, I would love to go get an STD from a bus seat. That's my plan for the day. Oh, yeah, this Ariana has been dethroned. This takes the cake. This is definitely worse. But yeah, there's not much else to discuss on this. I don't want to drag things on. I just I was made aware of this, and I needed you guys to become aware of it as well, because I didn't want to suffer by myself. So that would be that. And our society we need a reboot. We need a reboot. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for tuning into the show today. I greatly appreciate it. As always, all of my social medias will be linked in the show notes or in the captions down below, depending on where you are watching. And wherever you are watching, please do whatever it is that you are supposed to do to help me out and help out the show. If you're on YouTube, subscribe. If you're on Spotify, give me a follow and a rating. I would super duper appreciate it. And as of last week, there's a link in the show notes down below if you care to support the show. No pressure or anything, but if you like what we're doing over here, I would appreciate it. And again, thank you guys all for tuning in, and I look forward to talking to you next Monday.